Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I hope you're doing okay wherever you're listening from. Maybe you're driving somewhere, maybe you're cleaning your room, maybe you're pretending to work while listening to us, which honestly, I have definitely done before. And as always, I'm here with Noah.
Thank you for exposing half of our audience in the first 10 seconds. And honestly, if someone is listening while avoiding work, I respect it. Not because it's productive, but because we've all been there. I've definitely spent 15 minutes organizing my desktop instead of doing the thing I was supposed to do.
Only 15?
Okay, fair. Maybe 45.
That sounds more realistic. I was thinking about something funny this week. You know when you suddenly realize how old you are compared to how old you thought you would feel?
Oh no, we're starting with an existential crisis already.
Not a crisis, more like confusion. Because in my head, adults always seemed so adult. Like when I was a kid, I thought people in their late 20s and 30s had everything figured out. They knew exactly what they wanted, they had careers, they had plans, they knew what they were doing every day. And now I'm older, and sometimes I still stand in the kitchen staring at a piece of bread, wondering why I walked in there.
That's one of the biggest disappointments nobody tells you. You spend your childhood assuming adults have answers. Then you become an adult and realize everybody is just making their best guess. Some people are more confident about it. Some people are better at hiding it. But a lot of people are figuring things out as they go.
Exactly. And I think that's connected to today's topic, because lately I've noticed something. A lot of people feel behind, like really behind, not just a little. They feel like life is moving forward without them, like everyone else got the instructions and they somehow missed the email.
That's true. I've heard that from so many people. Different ages, too. 20-year-olds feel behind, 30-year-olds feel behind, 40-year-olds feel behind. It's almost weird how universal it is.
Yeah, and today's topic is simple. You're not late. And I know that sounds like one of those motivational poster sentences, but I don't mean it in that way. I mean it in the very real human way. The way where you look around and think everybody is ahead of you, and then you quietly wonder if you somehow ruined your timeline.
I think we've both felt that at different points.
Oh, absolutely. I remember a few years ago, I opened social media one night, which was mistake number one.
Always.
And I started seeing updates from people I knew. Someone got engaged, someone bought a house, someone launched a business, someone moved to another country. And within 10 minutes, I felt terrible. Nothing in my actual life had changed, but suddenly I felt behind. Like I was losing a race I didn't even know I was running.
That's such a strange feeling. Because logically, you know their life isn't your life. But emotionally, it still gets to you. I think part of the problem is that we're constantly seeing highlights from hundreds of people at once. Years ago, you'd compare yourself to maybe a few friends. Now you compare yourself to everyone. All day. Every day.
Exactly. And what makes it worse is that people usually share outcomes, not the years before the outcome. You see the business, you don't see the 5 years of uncertainty. You see the relationship, you don't see the heartbreak before it. You see the success, you don't see the confusion.
I had a moment like that with careers. Remember being in my mid-20s and thinking I should know exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And whenever someone confidently said, "This is my 5-year plan," I was impressed. I thought they had reached some higher level of adulthood. Then, years later, I talked to some of those same people. Half of them had completely different plans. Some changed careers. Some moved. Some started over. Some admitted they never really knew what they were doing.
That's actually comforting.
It is, because life isn't nearly as linear as people pretend. When you're young, you imagine a straight road. School, career, relationship, success, done. But real life looks more like somebody dropped spaghetti on a map.
That might be the best description I've heard.
Thank you. Years of observation.
I remember one of the hardest periods of my life wasn't when things were objectively bad. It was when things were unclear. I didn't know what direction I was going. I didn't know what was next. And because I didn't know, I assumed everyone else did. That's the funny part. Whenever we're confused, we imagine everyone else is confident.
That's true. We judge ourselves from the inside and everyone else from the outside. We see our doubts, we see our fears, we see our uncertainty, but we only see their finished presentation, not their messy draft.
And honestly, uncertainty can make you feel late, because if you're not moving quickly, it feels like you're standing still. But sometimes you're actually growing. You just can't see it yet.
I think that's one of the hardest lessons. Progress isn't always visible. Sometimes the biggest changes happen before there's anything to show for it. You're learning, you're adjusting, you're recovering, you're building confidence. But because there isn't a trophy at the end yet, you think nothing is happening.
I had that experience after a difficult year. At the time, I felt like I wasn't accomplishing anything. I wasn't reaching major goals. I wasn't posting exciting updates. I wasn't making dramatic changes. I was basically trying to get my life back together, and it felt slow, really slow. But looking back now, that year changed everything. The foundation was being rebuilt. I just couldn't see it while it was happening.
That's such an important point. People underestimate foundations because they're invisible. Everyone wants visible success. Nobody gets excited about stability, but stability is often what makes success possible later.
Exactly. And honestly, I think society has become obsessed with early success. There's this pressure to achieve everything as quickly as possible. If you're 22, you're supposed to have a plan. If you're 25, you're supposed to be successful. If you're 30, you're supposed to have everything figured out. And if you're not there, people start panicking.
Meanwhile, history is full of people who found their direction later. And not even famous people, regular people too. I've known people who changed careers at 40, found love at 50, started businesses at 60, learned new skills at 70. Life doesn't stop offering opportunities because a calendar changed.
That's something I wish more people believed, because I've noticed how often people say things like, "It's too late for me." And sometimes they're 28.
I know. That's the crazy part. I've heard someone say they're too old to start something new at 26. 26. That's barely the beginning.
I remember hearing a woman say she wanted to learn piano, but thought she was too old. She was 34. And I remember thinking, 34? You could literally spend the next 30 years playing piano. What are we talking about?
Exactly. Sometimes people spend more time worrying about starting than actually starting.
That's so true. And honestly, I've done that. I once delayed doing something because I thought I had already missed the right moment. Then 2 years passed, and guess what? I still wanted to do it. Now I was 2 years older and still hadn't started.
That's one of my favorite reminders. The time will pass anyway, whether you start or not.
Exactly. And that's not meant to pressure anyone. It's actually freeing. Because if the years are going to pass regardless, maybe we don't need to be so afraid of beginning.
I had a friend who wanted to go back to school. He kept saying he was too old. He spent years debating it. Years. Finally, he enrolled. And after graduating, he told me something funny. He said, "The weird thing is, I became older either way."
That's such a good line.
Right? He said he could either become older with the degree or become older without it. The years weren't waiting for him to decide.
I think another reason people feel late is because they compare timelines. And timelines are dangerous because life isn't standardized. There's no universal schedule.
Exactly. Some people meet their partner at 20, some at 40. Some find their career immediately. Some find it after 10 different jobs. Some people grow quickly. Some people grow slowly. And honestly, both are normal.
I remember feeling embarrassed because certain things in my life happened later than I expected. Then I started talking to more people, real conversations, not social media, not highlight reels, real conversations. And I realized everyone had something. Everybody. The person I envied had struggles I didn't know about. The person who looked successful had doubts. The person who looked confident felt lost. The person who seemed ahead felt behind in another area.
That's one of the most surprising things about adulthood. Nobody has the complete package. Everybody has parts of life they're still figuring out.
You know what? there was this moment that changed my perspective. I met someone who had achieved almost everything I thought I wanted: great career, recognition, the whole thing. And during a conversation, he quietly admitted that he felt like he had missed out on a lot of life while chasing those goals. That surprised me because from the outside, he looked like someone who had won.
I think that's why comparison is so unreliable. You're comparing your full reality to a tiny piece of someone else's. You don't know the trade-offs. You don't know the sacrifices. You don't know the regrets. You only see what is visible.
Exactly. And honestly, I think a lot of people need permission to move at their own pace.
I agree. Not everybody is built the same. Some people need more time. Some people face challenges nobody sees. Some people are recovering from things. Some people are carrying responsibilities. Life isn't a race where everyone starts at the same line.
I think that's something I understood later. When I was younger, I assumed everyone's path was roughly equal. Then I got older and realized some people are dealing with things you can't even imagine: family issues, financial struggles, health problems, loss, anxiety, responsibilities, and they're still showing up every day.
Which is why judging yourself against someone else's timeline can be unfair. You don't know what they carried, and they don't know what you carried.
Exactly. And honestly, survival deserves more credit than it gets. There are years where getting through the year is an accomplishment.
Absolutely. Not every season of life is about growth. Sometimes it's about recovery. Sometimes it's about healing. Sometimes it's about endurance.
I wish more people talked about that because social media makes it seem like every year should be your breakthrough year, your glow up year, your success year, your transformation year. And sometimes it's just your "I'm doing my best" year.
Which can be incredibly important, even if nobody applauds it.
You know what I find funny? When we look back, we usually have more compassion for our younger selves than we do for ourselves in the present.
That's true.
If I looked at 20-year-old Rose struggling with life, I'd be kind to her. I'd understand. I'd tell her she's figuring things out. But present day Rose, apparently she should have everything solved immediately.
We're often much harsher on ourselves than we are on other people.
Way harsher. And I think feeling late often comes from that harshness. We create these imaginary deadlines, then we punish ourselves for missing them.
That's a great point, because a lot of deadlines aren't real. They're expectations we absorbed somewhere, maybe from family, maybe from culture, maybe from social media, maybe from ourselves.
I had a list in my head for years. By this age, I should do this. By this age, I should have that. And almost none of it happened on schedule.
Same. And looking back, I'm actually glad, because some of the things I thought I wanted weren't even right for me. I just thought I wanted them because everybody else did.
That's such an important realization. Sometimes feeling late is actually a sign that you're chasing someone else's timeline, not your own.
Exactly. It's possible to arrive early at the wrong destination.
Wow, that's actually really good.
Thank you. I have one useful thought every 6 months.
And we just witnessed it live.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
But seriously, that's true. Because sometimes we focus so much on speed that we forget direction matters. Getting somewhere quickly doesn't help if it's not where you want it to go.
I think maturity is realizing that you stop asking, how fast am I moving? And start asking, am I moving towards something meaningful?
I like that. Because meaningful things often take longer than expected. Confidence takes time. Relationships take time. Skills take time. Trust takes time. Healing takes time. Most valuable things don't happen instantly.
And honestly, that's frustrating. Nobody likes waiting.
Especially me. I am deeply impatient.
You are. I've watched you microwave food and stare at the timer like you're negotiating with it.
Because I believe in encouraging efficiency.
That's A very creative way to describe impatience.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But you're right. Waiting is hard, especially when you don't know how things will turn out. And maybe that's the real fear underneath feeling late. Not time, uncertainty.
I think so. Because if we knew everything would work out eventually, we probably wouldn't panic as much. It's the not knowing that scares us.
That's true. The uncertainty makes us feel like every year matters more than it actually does. Like every decision will permanently determine our future.
When in reality, people change directions all the time. Life is surprisingly flexible. Not infinitely, but much more than we think.
I love hearing stories about people who reinvent themselves because it reminds me that life isn't fixed. You're allowed to become someone new. You're allowed to start over. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to grow.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think one of the healthiest things a person can do is stop treating their life like it's already over,
At 28.
or 32, or 40, or 50. People act like the story is finished. Meanwhile, they could have decades ahead of them.
That's such a strange thing humans do. We take a tiny chapter and assume it defines the whole book.
Exactly. One bad year doesn't define your life. One setback doesn't define your future. One delay doesn't mean you're doomed.
I think that's what I wish someone had told me earlier. Just because something takes longer than expected doesn't mean it's not happening.
That's a powerful distinction. Delayed isn't always denied. Sometimes it's just delayed.
And sometimes you're becoming the person who can handle what you're asking for.
That's true too. I know people who got opportunities later than they wanted. At the time, they were frustrated. But when those opportunities finally arrived, they admitted they weren't ready earlier.
I've experienced that. There were things I desperately wanted years ago, and if I had gotten them, I probably would have messed them up.
Same. Timing is strange. Sometimes what feels like a setback is actually preparation.
Not always, but sometimes.
Exactly. We don't want to romanticize every struggle. Sometimes things are just difficult. But occasionally, looking back, you realize there was a reason the path took longer.
You know what I've noticed? The people I admire most aren't necessarily the ones who got somewhere first. They're the ones who kept going.
I agree. Consistency impresses me more than speed.
Me too, because life eventually tests everybody. The question isn't who starts fastest, it's who keeps moving when things get messy.
And things always get messy.
Always.
That's another disappointing adult discovery. Nobody escapes the messy part,
Nobody, not a single person.
which is oddly comforting.
It is. Because if everybody struggles, then struggling doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human.
Exactly.
I think we're getting close to the biggest thing I've learned. Feeling late and being late aren't the same thing.
Explain that.
Sometimes you genuinely feel behind, but when you look at your actual life, you're not behind. You're learning, growing, recovering, building, trying, living. You just haven't reached the chapter you're imagining yet.
That's a really important difference, because feelings aren't always facts.
Exactly. And sometimes the feeling comes from comparison rather than reality.
Or from fear, or uncertainty, or unrealistic expectations.
Right. And honestly, if someone listening today feels behind, I'd want them to consider something. What if your timeline isn't broken? What if it's just different?
I like that.
Because different doesn't automatically mean worse. It just means different.
And some of the best things in life happen on unexpected timelines.
Absolutely. I don't know anyone whose life unfolded exactly according to plan.
Neither do I. And honestly, that might be a good thing.
I think so too, because the older I get, the more I realize life isn't something you perfectly control. It's something you participate in. You adapt, you learn, you adjust, you keep going.
And hopefully you laugh occasionally.
Very important.
Otherwise, adulthood becomes unbearable.
That's true. And honestly, some of my favorite memories came from plans failing completely.
Same. Some of my best stories started with, well, this is a disaster.
Exactly. Maybe that's another reminder. Life isn't late because it doesn't look like you expected. Sometimes the unexpected part becomes the meaningful part.
I like that.
Me too. And I think that's probably a good place to end.
I agree.
So, if you've been feeling behind lately, maybe be a little kinder to yourself. Maybe stop measuring your life against everyone else's timeline. Maybe remember that growth isn't always visible. And maybe remember that a different path isn't necessarily the wrong path.
And if you're listening to this while worrying that you've missed your chance, consider the possibility that your story is still unfolding. You might be much earlier in the journey than you think.
Exactly. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We always appreciate it.
We really do.
Take care of yourselves, keep going, and we'll talk to you again soon.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.